fact, that was.
No more room in hell. The dead walk here.
Yo, what's up, Horror Fiends? It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. I am back with my brothers. We are the Three Corners of Horror. I am going to introduce to you first the man, the myth, the legend, JR. What up, my brother?
New movie to watch, Suitable Flesh, or was it just an empty carcass?
Ooh, I don't like that word carcass, man. I always think of like rotting flesh when I think of carcass. What up, Joe, the psychologist, my brother?
What's
Yo,
up?
dry January is over, thank
I
God.
know.
I got my beer brother
Salute.
back, so salute, my brother. This is for you, Joe. Salute.
Thank you. I've been dying for that beer all day.
How are you?
I'm good. This will be an interesting one. It I'm a little mixed, but it's definitely, kind of remind me a little bit of that Skinamax, that when you used to flip the channel and try to get in there.
You mean like when the TV was all like scattered and
you distort to get that one scene.
Ooh, I see a nipple. Ooh.
And yeah, did you see what? Yeah, there was a little Skinamax in this movie, so I'm not hating on that either, though. I mean, it's for Ola Girl.
We are going to be discussing tonight Suitable Flesh. The film is streaming on Shudder and AMC Plus. It is directed by Joe Lynch. The film stars Heather Graham as Elizabeth Derby, Barbara Crampton as Dr. Daniela Upton, and Judah Lewis as Asia Waite. What up, my brothers? You guys ready to go? I'm going to start with you, Joe. I am curious to know. Now, when this guy came into this, office, I mean, a lot of stuff happened prior to this, but let's just start with this character, because he's an important part of the story, obviously.
Yeah.
Did you figure this out as far as, was he really telling the truth, or what was really going on? Because I didn't watch trailers, so I don't know what this movie was about other than the title and who did it. So what's up?
Well, so I thought, as you were saying, that he showed up and he maybe had multiple personalities, DID, and as you said, when he showed up all nervous, if and when I start doing therapy and somebody shows up at my door without a, appointment, first of all, I would make sure that my office has a secretary. So in case somebody shows up that I feel uncomfortable, I can press this button so she can go ahead and call 911 because we're about to, commit somebody who just showed up at my office. But as she starts talking to him, I was like, all right, so, he's talking about he's scared of his father, obviously he's scared of his father, obviously some abuse. So I'm like, all right, so he probably has multiple personalities, and I know we're gonna discuss it, but then he switched, transformed, whatever you want to call it, and then another personality came out. Well, from there I knew that it wasn't multiple personalities because generally when people make the changes, it's not like that. It's
She
just
claimed it was a seizure, and it kind of
it kind of looked like
passed
it.
for a seizure.
I mean, I guess there was a whole lot of kind of trembling going on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
there was
never
a
seen
lot of.
anyone go through
I've
that,
seen
so
a
yeah.
seizure, so I mean, but I thought that again, it was going to be something psychological. It turned out it wasn't, and I, I like the twist on that. It, for me, it was just the psychiatrist just made a whole lot of sorry. The psychologist just made a whole lot of very questionable decisions in this,
Yeah.
especially when it came to Asa. So for me, yeah, her trying to figure it out, kind of, I would not have bothered. I would have definitely called and had him put in the hospital.
But don't forget though, the reason why she was so enamored with it because she wanted to study him for research, not just to help him, but she wanted
her next book.
Yeah, exactly. So it
Yeah,
was almost a bit of a selfish take.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah. That's why she was so obsessed with this guy. But I
Yeah,
was like,
made her bad choices.
yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, well, is maybe he's seducing her? Is that what this is? I don't know.
Well, I mean,
He grabbed his crotch. Come on.
yeah.
When
Well,
it's
and
all
I
it takes to get a book.
there's probably some kind of way that
Mhm.
that there must be some type of physical touch to be able to pass
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, the demon or the entity
We'll get into that
to
later.
each
Yeah, I
other.
got questions about that, man. How are you, JR? What's up, man? So, I mean, I don't know. Did you watch the trailer for this before
And
we?
I watched the trailer. I did not read anything about it.
Okay, so what you thought about this Asia's character?
I mean, right off the bat, I didn't think it was anything as far as schizophrenic because
Psychological, yeah.
we have that scene where she's talking to Danielle about the experience, and you kind of get a little bit of foreshadowing with that scene, and the minute he walks in, it was easier to connect, and then the title kind of just gives it away a little bit, Suitable Flesh. So the first thing I thought was that film from Denzel Washington, Fallen, where the killer just broke.
Totally.
That's
Yep.
the first thing I thought about when I
Yep.
started seeing what was happening, which we'll discuss later what I thought about that. But I mean, for me, it's just yeah, she didn't make honestly. The minute he kind of like grabbed her, I was like, oh man, Roller Girl's coming out, and I had a hard time distinguishing between her character as a doctor and Roller Girl in this film.
Oh man, it's been like what 20 years in between though, man.
Yeah, but I
That's
was like,
a
and I even
movie came
texted
out.
you guys. I'm like, oh man, look at this. I was watching erotica,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I kind of knew a little bit, and it kind of made me wonder, like, how are they going to push this? How what exactly are they going to show to show this experience that they're going through? And I mean, I was saying with you, I when I went into this movie, the way it began, I'm like, all right, I expected something. To when it started going into motion, I'm like, I had more questions than anything.
Yeah. Once I saw it was a lot of like psychology and mental health involved. You know me, guys. I hate movies like that. I don't like anything that got to do with mental illness. I'm like, oh no, no, please no. But I mean, thankfully it didn't. That was not what it was about. So I was relieved on that front. How did the father come in contact with? Obviously, he had the book.
He was probably researching it and sat there and read out an incantation, like every smart person does when they find a book with spells. And whatever he read must have gone inside of him. And so now,
But
what
this
I'm thinking,
character
what I'm
kept
thinking is that
claiming it's been around for a long
Right.
time,
I
going
don't.
from
yeah,
body to body. So
from
it
body to
wasn't
body.
trapped in a book, or it didn't need an
Oh, I guess
incantation
yeah,
to
you're
get
right on
started.
that. So see,
It's a big plot hole. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
big plot hole.
yeah,
yes, that's
Massive
a
plot
yeah.
hole.
huge plot hole because
Yeah.
it never really explained
Mm-mm.
that.
I took it more like because they obviously had money. I mean, the father
Yeah.
obviously had money, so I took it. Somebody came to the house and brought this, and he started becoming infected. And then before,
You're
I mean,
right, JR. They did mention something like that. That
Yeah,
it came from somewhere.
gives us some.
I gotta watch it again because they did mention that the father got it from someone else or something like
Yes,
that. I'm paraphrasing, but
and then the father was basically researching, and whoever was doing this to the father to basically take over the father's body. I mean, the bad part is the fact that come on, just imagine it's Cthulhu. I mean, it's just
Yeah,
they have all these pictures that
yeah.
you can't even
Well,
mention.
yeah.
Yeah, I know we'll get into that later, but
I know. We're definitely gonna
that
get into
killed me,
that one
man.
later. I know.
yeah. It's I mean to me it's an excellent concept, but I think the execution was flawed because it didn't
Yeah.
really. It leaves you with more questions than anything, and I don't like. Sometimes I do like it, but I didn't like it in this instance because I really wanted to know more about what this entity was or
Right.
this. We don't know. Is it? I thought it was gonna be ended up Cthulhu, but it's like, wait a minute, no, it's not Cthulhu. Then I mean, it's definitely Lovecraftian, obviously,
Mhm.
and this is based on a story.
Yeah.
It wasn't just made for this. This was
No,
based
it
off
was
of
based off.
H.P. Lovecraft stories.
Yeah.
So
Yep. The
maybe
characters
maybe I
all
gotta
have
read that,
the
and maybe
characters'
read this
last
into
names are all the same names that are in the story.
I think it
nice
was the thing in the front doors or something
something
like
like that.
that.
The thing at the door.
I,
Yeah.
I I did like the concept of the body switching though. I'll be honest. Gr, what did you think about that? Especially the way it was filmed. I loved it when they did like the dual frames, and you see both characters like going through it.
I'll be honest, I kind of this is where for me, I wish they would have had multiple people like Fallen, where you have the multiple jumps, but the fact that
I've
it
never seen
wasn't
that movie, so if you keep referencing it,
okay.
I'm
So
completely
in the
lost.
movie The
So.
Fallen, Denzel Washington's a cop,
Yeah.
and he basically arrested the serial killer who was executed. But the serial killer,
He can just go like this to
he
you,
can touch you and jump bodies.
and yeah, his spirit jumps through bodies, and he
Yeah.
keeps killing more people. But he just has any little touch he can do on you. That's how he
Yes.
transferred it.
Sounds like an X Files episode.
No,
Oh,
it's a very good movie.
it's
It's
a
a very good
really
movie.
good
Maybe
movie.
we should
John
revisit that.
Goodman. It
It's technically horror.
is horror.
But yeah, I mean, for me, the issue I had, I didn't mind the way they did it with the cameras, but the seizures for me look more like a werewolf transformation over a seizure. Because usually when somebody has a seizure, it's not like that.
The bone cracking, the way that the body contorts, it's what we've seen in possession movies. So they were using that this entity voices a phrase and then jumps into that person's body. Jumping into the body is not an easy transition for him to take over. He's got to go through all that, and then all of a sudden he looks up and smiles, and he's like, "I'm here, bitch."
So, Joe, I know you love Lovecraft. Now, this film obviously is based on a Lovecraft story. It's got roots to that. Now, how did the Lovecraftian portion of this film, like, how did you feel about that?
I wanted more.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what's the name of the one that we saw about the glory hole?
Glorious.
Glorious. We even got to see a Lovecraft monster in that one.
Yeah.
The only thing you saw here was a painting on, whatever the page or the wall that he had.
Yeah, I agree.
That's it. I mean,
in the book, right? You mean that? That's
yeah, that's it. So if this is based on Lovecraft, and you're not even going to show us, because I actually thought by the end we're going to see, because I was in my mind also thinking of The Wretched, which you guys had told me to check out, and how that kept going, would take on somebody's body and the body would fall apart. So that I'm going, well, maybe the reason it's got to keep jumping around is because the body that it keeps taking over can only sustain it for so long. So maybe by the end, we'll actually see what this entity is going to look like, because it's Lovecraft. We need to have
that's
a
true.
monster.
I didn't even think about what it would look like.
Yeah, and we just got a drawing. And I'm like, oh, we're not even going to, like, and even if it would have been done with bad CGI, the point is it's a Lovecraft. So we need to be able to see what this monster is, the entity that is causing all this chaos. And story wise, it followed someone at the door or whatever it's called. They did the characters. I did read up on that, and a lot of it was kept to and Barbara Crampton actually had a lot to do with this.
Did they describe the entity in that book?
Well, that's the weird part. Like, no. So but again, yeah, I mean, so if they kept it to the way it was written, I get that. But for me, I just, anything Lovecraft, if Glorious still gave it to us and the movie was about a damn glory hole, this one could have. Well, the glory hole was there that he kept talking through. But I'm just saying, this could have given us, the the ode to Lovecraft, and at least just a glimpse of it, right towards the end or something. That's where I just kind of felt it didn't deliver for me.
Yeah, it's funny
on
because
the Lovecraft.
I just checked to make sure, but on my notes I did put I wanted more of it. It didn't. It kind of didn't even feel like a Lovecraft film, like if you didn't see like the book, you couldn't tell.
You wouldn't have known. Yeah.
You wouldn't have known.
You would have
What's
known.
up, Jay?
And it was
How
such
about
a small.
sorry.
Sorry. No, and it was such a small like it's flash, and I'm like,
I don't mind the subtlety in certain instances, but if you're gonna sit through like an hour and a half of this film, you want at least to get an idea of what you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? I not just okay. It left you with more questions than answers. Put it that way.
Yep.
How about you, JR?
I mean, I agree with Joe. I mean, it's just don't show the thing if you're not going to use it. And they show those, and then they go back in the basement. He goes, "Look, the painting." He points at something, and it's the head of an octopus. I mean, they had all these.
There was like rotting flesh on the floor.
Yeah, they had all this potential, and that's for me. If you didn't want to show the creature, show glimpses during the transformations of something, the creature almost showing itself.
Did you guys look at what that thing on the floor? Did you guys see what it was though?
No,
I just thought it was the carcass of the last person he took over.
Yes,
and then
I just thought about that shit. What if that was the carcass before the father?
Right, which is what I'm trying to say. Like for me, I thought like it made me think of Wretched on how and other stuff. You see that when they jump into the body can only sustain it for so long,
Yeah.
so it needs to find another one. And I thought that was just the remains of the last person before it jumped into Ephraim.
And that's part of the plot holes too, because the fact that Asa was the youngest out of all of them, so you figure his body was probably the best to stay inside for a little longer because he was so young. But for me, it's like if you're gonna give glimpses, like the fact that they didn't really go in deep
You're
with
right.
what it
Why would he
was.
keep switching if he didn't
Yeah,
have to?
yeah,
That's
he
a good
didn't
point.
have to because it didn't make sense. And then he just wanted to be a woman. That's the whole
The
thing at
sex
the end.
was good.
Yeah,
Because the pleasure he felt.
The
That's
yeah,
sex was good.
yeah. But for me, it's they should have had it more. Like the sequence when she's in the padded room. I mean, I would have loved to, Dr. Danielle to walk in and then she's trying to figure out what the saying is because you figure she's heard it already a couple times. So if they would start out with her actually writing, or trying to figure out what the saying was, or writing these like octopus things in the room, I think it would have added more to the film because now you're like, all right, this has to do with something off the bat because it's like you don't get what you wanted, especially with Lovecraft. I mean, the last thing I watched that was Lovecraft, besides Glorious, was Lovecraft Country. And Lovecraft Country was really good, even though they didn't really show the creature till later on, but they give you these little subtle hints and glimpses. This one, you got the book, then she cuts her hand, and the blood goes in the book. They never explain why there was so many plot holes that has to do. Why
Yeah,
did the
that's
book soak the blood?
yeah.
I
They
mean,
didn't.
did this target her for next possession? It was just a lot of stuff that I'm saying.
Yeah,
Like
it
it was
didn't really. It didn't tell you. It showed you with
no,
the
yeah.
blood, and then when she cut Ed, and I mean, do you? I don't. The thing. Well, yeah, because she
Well,
did
let's be
get. Yeah, you're
honest.
right. The blood did hit the book for her.
Did you guys want to see more heads being cut off? Because I did,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm talking about. I wish there were more bodies because
Because to stop it, you have to cut the head off.
36 minutes into the film is where you get the head getting cut off. And I wanted more of that
Yeah.
because that's what you were waiting for. Like, because she mentioned in the beginning, you got to cut off that, you got to cut off that. All right. I want to see more heads getting cut off. That way, you're like, all right. So now she's trying to figure out, this is where, I'm sorry, I keep doing this. I'll go back to the fallen thing. Imagine if she's freaking cutting people's heads off to try to figure out who the fuck it is, because that's the only way you can stop it. But
I
it's
will
just
say,
like, I
when
wanted
that
more heads cut off.
Well, you gotta destroy the brain though. You can't just cut the head off because you saw
yeah.
when the guy's head got cut off, he was still alive.
Well, when that happened, I paused and I go, "Up, JR's going to mention the first
36
sexual
minutes.
violence was 36."
Right,
I know,
but
I
but
did.
that didn't
Well, because
bother me
he.
though.
No, no, I
noticed
know,
that.
but I know,
I noticed that.
when he mentions it, like I'm sitting there,
But
and
that's
as
not
soon as
always
that
a
happened,
bad thing. As long as the movie
it's not.
entertains me up to a certain point. 'Cause I was never bored. I was like, oh god, come on, get to the action. I was like, okay,
You were anticipating
I'm
something to
curious.
happen.
I'm curious. I want to know what's going on. And the issue is the main issue is I had that feeling all the way up to the end of the movie, and I still had that feeling. What's going on? That's my main gripe on it. The movie felt like it had a bunch of ideas on paper. Oh, we're gonna let's cut someone's head off. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do that. But there was really no substance tying everything
Because
together.
the sex scenes kind of took over those.
Well,
So
did
yeah,
it
3
deliver?
sex scenes.
Did it deliver the Lovecraft for you, Rick?
No, I did not. No, I wanted more. That's what I'm saying. Because you gotta understand, man. I mean, Joe, I mean, and Jr. as well. Like, I there's a lot of movies that we love based on Lovecraft. That come on, like look at Reanimator, right? Not Reanimator. I'm
Mhm.
sorry. Oh yeah, that was
It
Lovecraft.
is
Yeah,
Reanimator.
yes,
It is.
yes.
Underwater.
Yeah,
Underwater.
Underwater is awesome.
Underwater is probably, as far as modern day horror
Yeah.
films, excellent Lovecraft. And again, I didn't go in knowing anything about it, and when that was revealed, it fucking blew my mind.
That's
You
what you
know,
wanted to in this movie. You wanted to see the creature, and the fact that you weren't given the chance to see the creature,
yeah.
you're
I
like,
think
what?
the main issue is Joe Lynch. He's a decent director. He's not one of my favorites. He did, I think, Wrong Turn 2. He did some other VHS segments. But the problem with, I think he was trying too hard to make this film feel more of a retro 80s throwback. And Joe, we're doing horror Italiano. There's a lot of horror Italian influences here
Yeah,
with the
you can see that.
colors and like this the camera work. Like I mentioned before, the camera work is really good. But I think he he put too much effort into that and not into the storytelling.
The
You know,
script.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, the script. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Let's do the closing thoughts. Let's rate it, and anything else you want to add to it. Let's rock and roll. Jr. I'm gonna start with you, my brother. Let's go. Hit me up.
Well, I'm gonna go with the script because the script for me, I wanted to like this movie, and the storyline just didn't like. I mean, I never seen a psychologist so badly written decisions because everything was like you're watching a bit. The her decisions were like you're watching a B movie because for
I think that was
somebody
the intent.
Yes,
that,
yes,
that
it was
yes that
supposed
that,
to
that,
emulate
that
a
was
B
the
movie. Yeah.
intent, but for me, it's just like I like Heather Graham, but I kind of wish they would have casted somebody else in that role
No, I think
because
she did good though.
I
She did.
wasn't a fan of her in this one.
Anyone
No,
would have went through the same problem because that's a script issue, not a.
but with
It wasn't
her
a
is
performance.
I'm the minute the sex scenes came up, I'm like, all right, so she's doing what she usually casted for because majority of her movies, she's always has sex scene and does nudity. That's what she's mostly cast for, which is unfortunate, but it's true. And you're always gonna think of Boogie Nights when you think of Heather
All right,
Graham.
other than Boogie Nights, I don't. What else has she done like that?
Every
I don't
movie
know.
a
Honestly,
lot
I
of
don't
movies
know.
she does is she always shows herself a lot.
All I can think is Boogie Nights. Was she in Austin
But
Powers too?
but for me, it's like I just
Yep. And she was good in that one too.
I don't remember. 'Cause I don't know a lot of her
yeah.
filmography. So
But for me, it's like there was way too many plot holes in this, and too many to fill. And every time they would go to the next sequence, you're leaving more plot holes behind. That by the time you finish, and the thing is, the last few minutes of the films were the best. The last 10 to 15 minutes of the film was the
that's
best.
how far was excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Because all right, so the scene where she's in there, she's basically trying to seduce the two orderlies.
Oh, by the way, Gia, those two orderlies, you guys recognize those guys?
The second
you-
one to come in, I could not like. He
No.
looked familiar, but I didn't.
Well,
I was
one
trying to.
you won't get. All right, Joe Lynch, the director, obviously, and then the second one was Jonah Ray, which we just talked about.
Oh, I thought I'm like that dude looks really familiar, but I wanted to finish the movie without grabbing my phone.
Yeah, because I honestly, when I seen that scene, I wanted her to like kiss one of them, possess one of them, and keep the jumping because then you're like left in suspense because it, like I said, the last 10 minutes of the film, if they would have did that throughout the film, I think it would have been a better film. But the fact that you had these plot holes going and then you don't show the monster, you don't that's probably one of the biggest sins in this movie that you give glimpses, but you don't do nothing with it. And that's what we wanted. We wanted to see, especially Lovecraft. You want to see if it's Cthulhu or if it's not Cthulhu, if it's a son of Cthulhu or whatever. You wanted to see the creature, and the fact that you didn't get to see the creature, kind of for me, it's just it left me like feeling like that's it because I wanted to see it. Show something. I don't care if it's freaking eyes. Just show something with the creature. But for me, I'll give it a 3. Like I said, I wish that they would have filled the plot holes, given more backstory, because we wanted a backstory. We didn't get no backstory. I mean, I don't mean you like vagueness, but unfortunately, this movie needed more backstory to fill those plot holes, especially if you're trying to add the creature.
The issue is this, GR. It's to me, it didn't feel like this. They kept it as vagueness. It just felt like they didn't know what the fuck. They didn't even know what it was. That's what it felt like.
For me, all right. I'm also gonna give it a 3. I'm gonna make some little jokes here. I felt a couple times it was a little bit of a Lifetime horror movie.
No, I would not agree with that.
A couple little times in the slow parts, it felt.
When you say Lifetime, you know what it is. You got a different. I think Lifetime. I think low budget, looks like a soap opera type stuff. That's
it did. In a couple in the slow moments, it was a little bit soap opera.
Tell me.
For me.
Let me.
When she's talking to her husband, just like those the little extra scenes they put in there felt like a Lifetime type of movie. I mean, it didn't need to be in there. But the one thing I didn't hear you guys talk about, it was for me, the other problem I had was the score that was used in the movie.
What I text you? Hey, they got porn music on here.
Nah,
hold on. I wasn't a fan of the score because I kind of the score just was.
Well, what's the score? That's
the music they used.
I know what the score is.
No, but I'm saying, but it just
I don't remember.
It wasn't really horror. It wasn't horror-ish. It was, yes, you had your moments where it was Skinamax.
That's my problem. See, I don't remember. That's the problem, Joe.
What?
It's not memorable. That's what I'm agreeing with you.
Oh, all right. But
I didn't
the-
say I didn't think it was bad. I just didn't. It didn't stand out. That's the
it did
problem.
well, and so the
Oh, the sex
score-
scenes. You mean those?
No, just the score all
Oh,
used
yeah.
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, honestly,
it
it's
was
weird.
it wasn't used right. In the moments that you're supposed to provide gravitas and all
Yeah.
this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it was a weird, and I get it was trying to give us some retro on it. It just the score didn't work for me.
Yeah.
I think if they would have had somebody to put some more ominous music, it's fine if you want to use Skinemax, for the sex scenes, but during the other stuff, especially when she's meeting with him, there's like little silence and keys there. It just it threw me off. I just was not a huge fan of the score in it because it didn't mesh with the movie.
What did I
It-
tell
it-
you guys all the time? If a score to me, if it's you hear it and it's memorable, like the Reanimator, for example, when you hear that music, you know what it is. Even From Beyond, like the tones in that film, the soundscape, it's memorable. It sticks with you. It gives it its own personality. Yeah, this film, like you mentioned, the score. I didn't mention it. I'm looking at my notes. It never stood out to me. Normally, I'm like, oh, great score or this.
Well, that's why I'm
I don't
saying
even know
it-
what it was. That's
well,
bad.
because the reason I say it because we have discussed scores in movies that we watch, and because the score was so bad, I'm surprised that neither one of you two, the movie people,
Well, I didn't
would
say
have
it's
mentioned-
bad. I just feel it's not
it was just but,
average. Nothing there.
like I would like to see this movie, if somebody else comes in there and redoes the score to help make it. No, I mean I won't see it again. Don't get me
He
wrong.
does the script.
But I'm just trying to say that that was one of the that was one of the biggest knocks I had on the movie. So many people were looking forward to this movie
Yeah.
and were disappointed in it. Like there is this movie, I'm sure it's getting a lot of views, but that's because so many people were really looking forward to this. And then I'm reading the comments and a lot of people were like, porn.
I'm surprised you guys didn't bring. I'm surprised JR didn't bring this one up, honestly. And this is my biggest issue with this movie. And we talk about plot holes. So apparently, when this entity takes over you, it has to chant this incantation into. You gotta hear it. You gotta listen to it, whether it's over the phone or in person. But the very last transformation, when it took over Elizabeth, she was locked up in the padded cell. He was somewhere else. He did the incantation and took over her body. She
Yep.
didn't hear him.
Nope.
So, what are the rules?
Yeah.
That's my biggest issue. Again,
I know, I agree with you.
it's like they didn't know what the hell they were doing. They
Right.
forgot. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. But but the thing is, with a movie with the JR mentioned the last like half, when like she gets transferred into that fucking mangled ass body and starts crawling around as that corpse, and then it's funny because in the Reanimator, there's a security guard. His name was Max. And in this film, this security guard was Max Jr. If you look at the credit, and he gets killed as well. So, I liked all of that. The whole the last half, I really did enjoy the last 30 minutes of it. I think that I wanted more of that throughout the entire
Right.
film. All right, well that's gonna do it for this episode of 3/4 of Horror. Thank you for joining in this special first reaction review because we just saw this movie within the last few days, all three of us. So this is the first reaction review on it. We expected more. I think I had my issues. These guys had their issues. They differed, but in the end, I don't think it's a terrible film. I just think it could have been a lot better. I think if a different director probably would have handled it, I think it could have been. I don't know. See,
I think the script. I think it's more just the script.
Yes. I don't know if it was a script issue or. It was
I wouldn't even blame it on the actors.
No, the actors were fine. I think everyone.
They were. Everybody did it. Yeah.
Performances were good.
The script sucked.
Script.
Yeah. When I saw Asia walk in, I'm like, what the fuck? They got the dude from Stranger Things in. But I'm like, oh no, that's the guy from the babysitter. What the?
The babysitter.
Babysitter. Yeah,
I love
that's it.
those movies.
Oh, me too, man.
I love those movies.
Those movies are awesome. All right, I'm Ricky Grimes, JR, Joe the psychologist. With that being said, Joe, take us home.
Ta-ta for now.
Stay scared.